Okay, 1 second. I want to see what this looks like. My stream channel. I'm live. Okay, so you can see my screen. So there's that. Let's make sure it changes. And let's make sure there's sound. Yes, there is. Okay, cool. And then I also need my stream manager. So I can see if people chat. Alright, so today I am going to design a new doll. And I've been wanting to make a doll that is very childlike yet cute. And the head definitely in my style for sure. So if I go to my gallery, there are some examples. So kind of like this. And then if I go back, let's see here if I have any other examples. Here's a backside example, kind of like a cat one. Let's go back. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Let's make this easier on the eyes. I'm going to change the background color to, how about a nice kind of gray blue. And the pen can be just a really dark color. Alright, so when I'm designing, I really just want to block out the idea. So my whole thought of what this doll would look like is they would have chunky legs, a very small bust, and I think fairly small arms. All right. Getting hair out of my face. So next, just make this light, make a new layer, and do the next iteration. So this one is, I'm noticing the shoulders were too sharp. I actually did kind of like the arms. I think the top chest has to be a little bit smaller. So and then so here's the design part of the doll, is like how many parts do I really want to make. And I think the neck needs to be much smaller. All right. So now I'm just kind of drawing what I would like to accentuate on this doll, but then I'm gonna have to think about the actual design and what it's gonna look like. and what is actually possible. So when you're designing a doll, especially a jointed doll, which this kind of doll would be considered a ball jointed doll that I'll be making, you have to think about how pieces will fit together, because we're going to switch to a 3D application soon. Because what happens with a ball jointed doll, let's do this on another layer, is there's going to be a string, and this string is elastic, and there's one that comes from here, and it goes, did I switch? Oh no, I'm just pressing really hard. Okay, it goes all the way to here, and I know it's like tied together right here, so it looks loose, but it's actually really, really tight. And so when the doll is cut up, I'll show you on another layer. Let's do it red. So let's say here is a single piece, and so like just that piece will be printed out. What happens is this elastic string holds all the pieces together because the tension is going towards the center. So when you're designing it, you have to think about where tension is and how that will pull your doll in different directions. So especially like with legs, if you have too much tension, they will just like flip forward or flip backwards, or the knees will bend, and there's not much you can do. All right, so this next one, the string goes all the way down here and all the way down, and then there, that's where it's tied. So there's two, and if you're tuning in and don't know much about ball jointed dolls, these have hooks on them that hook. So there will be a hook here, and it hooks onto the hand, and a hook here, and so that's how they stay tight and like don't just get lost. And that also makes it easy, so if you're replacing hands, so you can like print out lots of different hands. And then there's like a hook here, and it goes up through the neck, and so that way if you want to change out the heads or something, you can also change out the eyeballs, that kind of stuff. And there's a hook here and a hook here. All right, so for now we're going to hide these, and I'm gonna make another layer. I'm gonna hide this one, I don't need that one anymore. And we're gonna sketch out still an idea of how we want this to look. Okay, so as you can see, I'm starting to compartmentalize. No, I don't like that. There should actually just be a hole there. So for this top part, let's switch to this one. This, That's not the color I wanted. I want this color. This right here is a hole, and it'll go through here, and maybe a little bigger. And this is where the armband will go through. And then you need a hole up here. This one pretty big too. I have very thick elastic threading. Okay, and then this will be fairly open, and that is because I'm gonna have a middle piece here. So let's draw that. So now we're gonna go back to, actually let's make this a little lighter. Go back to this level. Switch to a nice dark color, maybe darker than that. And it's gonna look like this. So when the elastic band holds all of these together, it is going to push right here into right here. So it's going to hold it together. So when designing that specific part, I want to think about how I could pose this doll. So this piece right here, which I'll probably have to change. I haven't done a doll like this yet, so I'm just figuring this out on my own. It'll kind of look like this so far. It'll be fairly open, but I want to be able to have this doll lean forward and lean back. And so a lot of dolls that I have that I've bought that other people have made will have notches where the back can then just sit into, and the tension holds it into place. So imagine if you were to put this back part of the chest into the notch, it would lean the doll forward. So this is like a looking up sort of view. So if I were to do looking down, let's see here, like so. All right, so you're looking down, and there will be a notch here, and you could imagine a pole going across, and that's how that notch gets there. And then maybe another one right next to each other. And then you'd want some in the front as well. And when I do the 3D, it'll be more obvious. So that way the doll can lean back. Okay, so I think I'm gonna make this one piece. Okay. So for this doll, it's gonna go down like that. So it kind of looks like they're wearing undies. The back side's another story. We'll get to that in a second. Oops. Okay, so for the hips, okay, if you're watching to kind of learn, it's really important to know that the ends of all of your joints that connect should always be spherical. Okay, and let's switch back to a red color, because now we're on that one. Okay, So this is gonna kind of just all be basically open. Obviously not exactly to this hole. Well, maybe. Anyways, you have to think about space, because there's always going to be, everything's hollow for the most part. Something else to think about, which I try to think about, but there's just so much, is how much do you hollow out of the doll, and how heavy do you make parts? Okay, anyways. So the waist part will usually have a hole here, a hole here, and a hole there. And the reason doesn't have to match the hole up here is the hole up here is to allow this waist to go in, but this hole is for the strings. So all the rest would be solid. And you can make it more hollow, but as other people will explain, if you want to have this casted, you want to have it be easy to release from the cast, which I usually don't think about because I just 3D print these. Or I might sell the prints someday. Anyways, okay, so going back to what I was talking about, is all of the ends of where things connect should be spherical. And if they're not, like I once made the neck part round-ish. It was like kind of round, kind of rectangular, but definitely like smooth. But the doll's head kept like going to one side, one of these sides. So a round end to all of your connections will make it easier to pose. So having said that, you want to imagine where you would put the ball for the hip. So you'll notice that I want this ball to allow for a little bit of curvature to the body that appears naturally in a human. But to do that, to get that and this shape, I'm gonna have to make the ball about this big, which means the leg is gonna come out here. So let's make this a little less for now. Let's go to here and this one. Okay, so this tells me that it's gonna look like that, and I don't like that, so I'm gonna try to design around that. So first of all, it needs to be round for most of this, but I'm gonna try to flatten it when it gets to about here. This doesn't look bad, but I think the sudden change doesn't look natural, so I'm gonna actually take away from some of that sphere, like so. I have a kitten with me, so they're kind of distracting me a bit. Okay, so now I'm going to try to design the anatomy around these restrictions if I want a good posing doll. Okay, let's see here. I need to switch back to red. Let's make this more prominent again. And let's draw my other ball. Oh, here's something else. Can you not do that? Kitten wants to play, but I want to draw. Kitten, you play on the bed. Okay. You don't really want these balls touching too much. You want to allow for a little bit of clearance so that while you're posing the doll, they don't affect each other. So I'm not going to worry about that here, but when I actually do the 3D work, I'm going to have to worry about that. Alright, let's make this about there. Switch back and switch. Okay. So this is going to have to come out to here, but I'm going to make this come out from here. And erase from here. Alright. So that's how... This is a much better view of what the leg will look like straightforward. When you're drawing things, though, it is good to draw in different positions so you get an idea of how you're going to do the 3D design for this. Okay, so the knees. There's primarily two different ways that people do knees. I am only going to do it however I think I can, which is going to be where they meet up, almost like a robot or something. So something like this. So this is like, this whole piece will be printed out. This whole piece will be printed out. And then there will be a knee joint that will be printed out. And they call it a peanut. And this peanut also has to be round. Trust me, I've tried to get away with not making things round, and it does not work. The roundness really helps with posing and to prevent the legs from just like flipping in on themselves, as long as you have your tension right. So what does the peanut look like? And I will show this in the 3D work. I have a cat who's attacking my wires and things. Cat, go. Okay. So the peanut is a sphere, and something to connect them. So it's kind of like a really silly looking telephone. So imagine this. There. Okay, so I'm not going to get too much into, well, maybe I should. Hold on. Okay, so let's go back to where the thread actually goes, the string. Make that more prominent, switch. Okay. So, like I said, this is where that elastic is going to go. There will be a hole up here on the hip. That's where it will go. And then I have had pretty good success in making my dolls stand, even though like I make a lot of other mistakes, but the standing's pretty good. So when I do this, I like to think about the actual bones of a human being and how they stand. So what I'm going to do, and I do this as I'm doing my 3D work too. I'll use this as a guide, but this can only do so much. So I'm actually going to have it go from here. Let me erase some of this. I'm thinking about this as I go. Okay. So the elastic's going to go through here. It's going to go through the knee and then down to the ankle, and then of course it hooks up to the foot. So when I'm designing this, there will be just a hollow tube right here, a hollow tube right here, and then the knee is a whole other thing. So the knee itself will have a tube through it, but for posing abilities, you need to have a slot removed. So when you bend that knee, the elastic that goes through it can move into that slot. So for an example, you're gonna have your knee, right? This is like looking on the side, so if somebody was going to be sitting on their side, here's the tube going through, and here's the slot, and here's the hole, slot. Okay. If the person is bending, alright, here's the foot, and here's the butt, so they're like bending down. I'm going to switch to a different color and then undo all this just to clean it up. But your string is going to go down the tube of the leg, through this cutout that you made in the knee, through the knee, and back through. So you have to have your tension just right, and you have to design this just right, so that if you were to bend the doll's legs, they don't flip back out, and that is pretty hard. I've been okay at it. It's a learning process. Okay, so let's kind of clean some of this up. Make this bigger. You don't need all that. Don't need that. So what I want to do right now is finish up the design idea and start building the doll. Okay, so it's going to be pretty small arms. The arms are going to be the same as the legs, where there'll be a peanut. Here's where the peanut will go, and this is where you'll see those slots that are cut out, so you can bend the arm in. So the same idea, but smaller. I'm just trying to get an idea of how I want to do this, because there's small things that you may not think about when you're designing, but just change the color. I'm keeping notice to, I want her to have soft shoulders. This part of the arm will be skinnier than right here. And then how do I want the hands? Okay. Okay, I think it's gonna be just a soft, partially closed hand. That works. And maybe I'll do both hands slightly different. Maybe I'll have this one kind of close with one little finger out. Not sure. I know that looks terrible. I don't really care. This is just a sketch. Okay, foot. So this is the hard part. Oh man, this is where I failed on my last doll. I really like to show these bones, but you also need another circle there. So I'm gonna have to make that circle, then build my foot off of it, and then this lower leg is gonna have to attach to it. So it's gonna, unfortunately, have to get bigger if I want that sort of look. And you want it to be slightly curved so you can turn the foot up. So let me erase some of this. Oh man. So you can see better. Okay, so round, foot. We'll see how that looks in 3D. It's gonna be pretty hard. Okay, and then the head. That's the last part, really. Yeah. Oh, I might also cut this. So imagine these are just two different parts, and if you were to make just a slice through here, then you can turn the leg, you know, 360 basically. It allows for more posing, and it's really not that hard to do. But if you do that, then this part of the hip, it works a lot better if it dips into it. So there's still this tube going through it, but it ends up here. Anyways, okay, so head. I'm just trying to hack something out really quick. Big ears. I want big ears for this. They got pretty big head. I think that'll work. Okay, so now what I do is I really actually don't need to look at that. I just need this for the overall idea of my doll. And I am going to save this. To files. I don't know. New doll. Cute. Great. Then what I use for 3D work, especially if you're an artist and you started with like clay and actually manipulating things with your hands, Nomad works really, really well. Uh-oh. That's another doll I'm working on. Let's add a new. There we go. Okay. Nomad works really, really well, especially if you're an artist. I've tried other 3D programming tools, and unless I'm programming the actual 3D objects, which I use OpenSCAD for, I use this for the art side of things. And for the most part, almost everything I build from a sphere, but that's also how I draw. I draw very circular. So this is gonna be the head. Done. Okay. Then let's add a new sphere and validate it. Oops. Switch to Gizmo. There's your chest. Let's see here. And then let's start with these two. Let's go back to the head. This is really important. So for the head, I need to look at my sketch. So there's this option. It's a little image option in Nomad, and you select reference image, and this is the reference image for that other doll I'm doing, which I forgot I was going to give it an eyeball on its chest. Anyways, let's switch that reference image. So you click on it, you have to import it. Where's my new one? Files. Probably in files. No? Yes, no, maybe so. Recents. There we go, that's what we want. Okay. So we'll use this for reference and how I'm gonna modify this. So let's bring this in. Am I touching it? Yes, I am. Why is this not working? Drag. There we go. I don't know what that was all about. So just like in real life, when you're working with clay, you're just gonna kind of pull at it slowly. Because if you, especially obviously not in 3D work, but in real life, if you go too fast, you're gonna leave a bunch of, I don't know, if you have long nails, nail indents, and your fingerprints. And in this, you just want to do a little bit, because if you go too far too fast, you're starting to get all of these I don't know what you would call them, but all of these breaks in the 3D. And obviously that was extreme, but you will start to see that as you're working on these things, especially once you get to details. Something else that will really help you if you struggle with this 3D design stuff is when you're doing it, you're going to constantly, slowly move it around. Because when you're working with 3D and you're only working in one direction, you're going to miss out on what the object actually looks like. Because if I were to do this, well, that's not a good example. It's just sometimes when you're pushing things in, it might look really cute, and then you turn and you're like, oh man, that looks terrible. Oh man. So right now I'm just doing this like very soft modification to get this curve of the face. Okay, so here's a good example. So you see that looks really nice. That looks like a good dip. But if you turn, oh, look at that. There's all this like weird indentation and stuff. So as you're working, you need to turn your object. You will miss stuff. And you might get disheartened. You're like, oh, I've worked so hard on this and it doesn't look good. So if you're constantly moving your object around, you will catch these things earlier. Okay, so it's slowly starting to take shape. You can kind of see like where the nose will go and where the eyes will go. Actually, let's work on this solo. This is where practicing drawing really comes into play, because as you're working on this, you're going to want to do this in lots of different positions. Like, what does a face look like when you look up on it? What does a face look like when you look down on it? And you want to mimic that. And don't worry if it looks all bumpy like this, because as you're going and before you do more details, you can just take this smoother and just keep going at it, and it smooths out. And if you ever notice it's not smoothing out, then you've accidentally switched to the opposite of relax. I've noticed it tends to do that, and I don't know if I'm bumping it or if there's a bug in this program, but I really like this program, so I keep using it. Anyways, let's see here. Okay, so I'm trying to get that a little bit smaller. That was probably too small. And then I need to see, that's looking a lot more like my doodle. It's very slow progress. And sometimes I feel like I'm not making an indent at all. Okay, so there's still a lot of things I need to fix. So like right here should come out more. Eyeballs should be about, let's switch to front. And I don't worry about the back of the head because you can modify that later. Just one thing at a time. Okay. Let's make a little pocket for the eyes to help me visualize this. So I'm gonna go down in size about here. Look at my drawing. I think it was about there. it's so scary looking. Okay, just kind of carving out the space where the eyes would be, and you can make it look better as you go. It's really just to get an idea. Also, if you ever feel frustrated, doing something very significant so you can see it can help. So that nose is actually much lower. So let's do that. That looks better. Okay. Just to get an idea. So now I can tell where the forehead is, and I need to bring that up. There we go. Go. And it's hard to explain, but if you're looking at the drawing and you see where this very prominent curve is, pay attention to, like in your drawing, where you want your curve to go, and then as you're 3D designing this, you're like, oh, okay, so it looks like it's right above my eyebrow line, and that's where you're gonna put that curve. Right now I'm mimicking where the eyelids would be, so I'm pushing in a bit, and then I'm going to pull out. So you can see the dip right here, and then it comes out. And obviously this is not its final form, but you get what I'm trying to do. Okay, so my drawing has a very poofy cheek. Poofy. So we're gonna kind of play with that a bit. Very poofy cheek. Very poofy cheek. Poofy. Poof. Poof. Oh, it looks so terrible, right? That's fine. It will look better. Part of that is well, first of all, there's no chin. And also, the way I've designed it, I think the forehead should be a little bit more prominent. Just a little. That looks a a little better. All right, so let's make a chin. It doesn't need to be that prominent because, well, it does come to a kind of point, but it's mostly in the front. Like I said, don't worry about the rest of the head, because eventually what will happen is we're actually gonna make a hole here, and it looks kind of like grandma's jowls, so you'll come in and you'll smooth it out, but don't worry about those things when you're just trying to get your basic design in. Okay, let's make this smaller. And there will be a point where you're gonna need better vertices. So like you can see, remember I talked about this earlier, there's all of these like, I don't know the word for them. It's obvious that that's not smooth. So what you can do, and I don't suggest it right away, is you can actually split this apart. It is under multi-res subdivide. So it's the one that looks like a bunch of gold bars on top of each other. But I'm not going to do that until I'm ready to really design the eyes, which I'm getting close to. Okay, so let's get this. So as I'm turning it, I don't like the way it looks. So I'm going to fix right here. And I do mostly just use drag, sometimes move. There's a point of using either one. Okay, so here I'll show you the difference. In drag, there's the nose. And in move, let's make it about the same. So you can see the difference. When you're designing the head, remember that there is a line for the not chin. What is that called? Hold on. It's gonna bother me now. Google has no idea what I'm talking. Jawbone. Jawbone? Jawbone. Jawbone. That's what I'm thinking of. Jawbone. Okay. So here's the jawbone. And if you look at it like this, it looks super weird. But don't worry about that. It will look good, especially when you add an ear and when you design the neck. But as you're developing this, it's gonna look like an alien. I'm an alien. Yes, you are. Quite. Okay, so let's bring out this nose a bit more. Oh, that's too much. Okay. This is going to be a multi-episode. because these designs that I do take a lot of work, and I'm very picky. Oh, I keep messing up. Okay, so I'm trying to make it look right, but also maintain its cartoonishness. Let's go back to drag. I like drag a bit better. Alright. Make this smaller, because this is, there we go. That looks much better. And I know they don't really have nostrils yet, but I can easily make them nostrils. Nostrils! Now they can smell. And then we'll make this even nicer once I subdivide it. But don't subdivide it until you're ready, because if you do, smoothing things out becomes a lot harder and it takes a lot more work. So do not subdivide until you are ready. Or if you even need it. If you don't need it, don't do it. There we go. So there's no rhyme and reason. I just flip the model around over and over, and then I see something I don't like, and then I fix it. And then I turn it, and I see something I don't like, and I fix it. And I turn it, and fix it. Turn it and fix it, and turn it and fix it. And to oblivion. I have no mouth. They can't tell me how bad this looks. Alright. Aha! Let's move it this way. Okay, so we need to make this smaller. And bring that up. And then the mouth. Let's do it this way. I know that looks terrible, but trust me, it will get better. It's so bad. Anyways, okay. And if you'll notice, I do very small changes, because, like I said, if you do too much and you pull these pixels in the wrong direction, you're gonna get a lot of, there's a word I keep thinking of, but I can't think of it right now. Artifacts. Okay, so I call these artifacts, all of these triangles. They're a bunch of artifacts. And if you mess with this too much, you can affect your 3D print of it. So you want to be slow and deliberate. You can make mistakes, it's fine. You have undo. You can also add clay. So if you haven't played with this, if you've used this or any similar program, so it just literally adds more material, which is really good around a mouth, so you can get this nice without manipulating things too much, because you can make a lot of mistakes. Oops. All right, and then you can pull out your smoother, and just kind of smooth it. And then I know it looks terrible, but you just keep working on it. Keep working on it. And here's the fun part. Once you've got like a recognizable face, you'll notice as you start to modify things, you can kind of like make them anyways, let's undo that. So here's where I do move. So move is gonna help me pull more over rather than in and out. And you'll notice like the clay is not smooth, and I don't worry about that because I have my smoother. Too much. All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring out my smoother. And I'm smoothing in the direction that I want. To change the shadows, because everything's based on these shadows, right? I don't like the mouth. The mouth is way too small, so I'm going to pull out my mover. I'm going to make it much bigger. And don't worry if it looks silly. That is absolutely fine. You're just, it's like a rough sketch. Now I'm going to pull out my dragger and fix it. There we go. I need my mover to pull it down, but I need that smaller. Drag. Think of drag as more of a pinch, even though there is a pinch. And move as like slide. Pinch and slide. Alright, it's not great, but it's way better. Alright, so now if I want to make nostrils, all I do is make this much smaller, and I kind of pull up and in. There you go. Nostrils. And then let's make it a little bit better. Another good reason not to subdivide yet is you can manipulate each of these triangles individually and then smooth it later, so you can kind of get an idea. Again, it's just a sketch until you subdivide and you start to know exactly what you want to do. Oh, the kitten's attacking me again. How dare that kitten? How dare you, cat? Alright, so. Yes, I know that looks terrible, especially on the sides and on the bottom. But the bottom I'm not worried about because most of that will go away. Drag bigger. So whoa, that did a lot that I don't like. Okay. What I want to do, I think, is actually move. That looks a lot better. No, I think it needs to be there. Drag, front, actually smooth. That looks better. Nope, I took away too much. Drag. Let's get rid of this bump so it can look nicer. Also, if you notice, you can use a big brush to make sweeping changes, and a little brush to make small changes. That's where the ear's gonna go. This actually isn't horrible. I still have a lot of work to do. I still have to organize this head. I kind of like how much the eyelids stick out, but let's now add eyeballs to make it a little bit easier to develop. So for the eyeballs, just hit the mirror option when you add your sphere, and then switch to Gizmodo, no, not Gizmodo, transform. Let's switch to scale, make them mucho smaller. So, our time, my cat is being a jerk. What you doing? Don't play with my 3D stuff. There you go. Alright, now let's switch to move. I know it looks creepy, but this is where the eyeballs will go. So I like to go at it and say, okay, if I was looking at a person from the side, where would that eyeball be? So I think about there. And then I see that I need to, which I already knew, I need to work the bottom of the face. Oops. Validate it, switch back to the head, go back to drag, make it smaller, and pull up around that eye. Oops, not there. Keep hitting the wrong thing. Let's turn slightly. And switch back. Oh, I kind of liked that look. Okay. I always end up making baggy eyes, but I really like baggy eyes. Okay, smooth it out. Just slightly. If I do too much of a baggy eye, it looks too human. And I want this to still be fairly doll-like. So to that matter, we'll switch out and remove some of the eyebrows. There, it looks a little bit more cartoonish, I think. Okay, drag. Let's fix that lip. There we go. what I want. I think I need to move. Which again is more like slide. Slide and pinch. Yeah, I like that. Like up close, it looks pretty good. I still need to fix the eyes. Okay. And the bridge of the nose. Actually, I think I was gonna make the bridge of the nose more prominent, but if I want to make this a little less realistic, we're gonna actually take out some of that definition. All right, and now I want to make this design my own. Ah, goodness. There, that's better. You'll see that's a lot closer to my original design. Okay, so I found a position where the eyes look absolutely horrid, so let's fix that. Okay, that's still pretty terrible. I don't think I got what I wanted. So let's do something different. So let's go back to that original position. I mean, I guess it does look slightly better. Okay, clay. I said clay. A little bit more. Okay, so I've added my clay, and I know it looks absolutely horrid, but that is okay. We are now trying to relax it. And drag it. Switch. Okay. Now we need to fix all of this. We're gonna need to Yeah, I don't want that. I think okay. Yep, it's time. Subdivide. Alright, now we can tackle this part. It's still needs to be subdivided a bit more. But this actually doesn't look that bad. Alright, I also noticed I don't like the chin. So we're gonna go in. And go bigger. Ooh. It was a little too small. And then let's just smooth out those changes so they're less drastic. It's not terrible. Let's drag that a bit. Did not mean to do that. Okay. And if anyone's watching, you'll notice it does take quite a while to get the shapes that you'd like. Let's switch to move. The mouth. Ugh, let's go back. I guess it's fine, whatever. Must adjust where butt is. Okay. Whew. Next, more finer details. Let's fix the nose really quick. Okay, that didn't need much. Okay, next we're gonna need to subdivide a couple more times. Alright, the reason is a crease. I really like creases in the eyes. It's really hard. You gotta like one chance to get it. And then all of that. Okay, I've got to fix the bottom of the eye. There's lots of little mistakes. Okay. I don't know if I like that. Alright, let's go back. Okay, let's do this a different way. Okay, so now smooth that out a bit, but you'll notice when you add the clay, especially if you're me, it doesn't look that great. So after you add the clay, then add the crease. That actually looks really good. Alright, I know I still need to fix the bottom of the eyeball. I keep focusing on the top. Okay. Now let's fix the bottom. Artifacting. Let's see if I smooth it, if it helps. A little bit. Well, what we can do is try to play with it, and if I can't fix it, just add more objects. And then you just merge them together. Okay, if I do up, 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 right? And then smaller, in, in. That's looking better. Up, in, up, in. Okay, then let's smooth it out a little bit. I don't know if we're gonna get a crease there. I don't think we are. full on. Now, let's drag things where we want them. Oops. How about we move things where we want them? All right, here's where looking at my model, my drawing helps. Right, so this goes in, that goes down, in, down. Smooth out some of this. Let's see if we can add creases. Much to fix. We're getting there. It's just a slow progression. Okay, so now soften the features a little bit. Front. Okay. I've moved things so much. They have like so much space on the side of their head again. Let's see here. Right, ignoring the rest of the head, we're just looking at the eyes, and I see lots of things I need to fix. So it looks good on a lot of ways except for straight on. But maybe I just need to add the ears. That looks so bad. Let's do it. Let's add ears. Okay. Save. New doll. Lol, lol, lol. Cute. Okay. Alright. That head's so funny. I guess I could try to like make it look a little less terrible. I don't want to do too much because it helps to have the neck and shoulders and everything. Anyways, okay, ears is again, make sure it's mirrored, transform, scale, and then move them to the approximate location, and then you're done. Those are beautiful ears. Never have I ever seen such beautiful ears. Okay, validate. Now let's squish them. Let's squish them. Squish those ears. Let's do it solo. Squish, 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 squish. See? It's like kind of rounded. It's got the character. All right. So now we get to actually manipulate it into an ear shape. When you're doing this, definitely keep looking around. I was doing this with cat ears and I accidentally made a hole, and basically I just had to redo the ears. I couldn't figure out how to undo it because for some reason I didn't have my history. About there because their eyes are kind of closed, and the bottom looks good too. Cool. All right. Nope, don't like that. Don't touch that. Drag. Back to drag. All right. So I made the indent to help me figure out the shape that I want. And honestly, It doesn't need to be like super looking, just needs to look essentially like an ear, I guess. And same with the head. Flip, flip, flip around. Look at it in every angle possible. Okay, now we smooth it because it doesn't need to be like super eerie looking. I have ears. I'm beautiful. Okay, let's fix that. Oh, they look like pouty from below. Let's solo it and fix those lips again. That's better. That's way better. Oh, I just realized I need to fix underneath the lip too. There, that's better. Alright, now to do micro fixes. Do that. Yeah, it's still. I feel like I'm using the wrong tool. Okay, that I was using the wrong tool. Slide, not pinch. Alright, I still have to work on it, but pinch. Definitely better. Let's relax it a bit. Hi, kitten. There is a kitten jumping all around my desk. There is a kitten attacking all my 3D prints. Oh, there's a kitten. And he's super adorable. Adorable. Alright, go away. Poor time. Poor time. Poor kitten witten. A little better. I feel like if I keep working on it, it's gonna get worse. Ugh. Okay. Pouty. I'm powder. Pouty water. Pouta wouta. Pouta wouta. Alright. Cool. Now, let's add a neck. So first I'm going to add in a new sphere for the neck in design. And then later we will add in a neck circular top for the head doll. Looks like somebody got auto kicked. Let's see. Scale. About there, and then we're gonna move this. Oh, I did this wrong. Hold on. So, let's undo that. Doot. Alright, we need to use Gizmo. Okay, so first what we do is we transform the scale to about where we want it. It's okay if it's not perfect. And then, how did I do this? Wait, does that work? Oh, that works. Okay, let's undo that. There we go. That's much better. This way we don't lose its center. because what you do to one side will happen to the other, and we don't want to mess with that. All right, front. Then elongate it. Remember, you're gonna add another ball on top of it, so don't worry too much about the shape. Front. About there, maybe a little bit closer. That looks good. All right, front. Looks good. Okay, so now let's validate that. Switch to drag and shape that neck. Shape that neck. It's a new TV show. Pull it out, push it in, push it in, push it in. Yay, it's a neck. Just like everything else. Go around and around and around until it mostly looks good. Grab in your smoother. I'm beautiful. Look at me and my ball. All right, done. That's it. That's the doll. I'm beautiful. Okay. Drag. So I will add more definition to the neck, but not until it's attached to the chest. She's so pouty. I like it. Pouty. All right. All right, let's make this much bigger. And adjust accordingly. So this is why I don't touch the head until it's got a neck, because it's really hard to kind of tell how much smaller you want to go or how much bigger. And then you're just gonna, just like the rest of everything else, keep spinning in that circle until you've got a good shape. So you can tell it's like pocketed and kind of weird looking. That's okay. Pull out your smoother. Whee! And smooth it out. Smooth. Just keep doing it. And you'll notice how long this is taking. That is because I upped the vertices and divisions. So it has a lot longer to smooth down. And you can kind of work it. You can kind of make it bigger. That kind of helps. And drag things a little bit more flatter. it's not actually that bad. I know, my head does not look like the original drawing. Doing cartoonish is very hard for me. Alright, let's do the body. Drag. Just like the neck, the beginning of this is like super easy. Just drag, drag, drag. Oh, bigger, drag. I know it looks terrible. That's fine. Okay. So from my original drawing, it's a little bit more square. And this is still way too big. It's about there. That's a really, really good start. And I also think a really good place to pause, and I can work on this more tomorrow. As I continue to work. Alright, and save. Save often in this app. Anyways, if anyone watched, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Please follow me. I'd appreciate that. And if you ever want to talk, I'm always around to talk.